I started off my day at Muhammad Ali's Fighter's Heaven in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania. I thought this was going to be just a really quick stop by and take a couple pictures, but something really cool happened when I was there, and I got to see way more than I expected. Alright, I know it's strange to start a video in my car like this, but the reason I am doing it is because I am having a 2-day trip where I wanted to stop 3 different places. I am on my way right now to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be going to Binghamton, New York tonight to see a Binghamton Rumble Ponies game. And then tomorrow, I am heading to Cooperstown, New York to check out the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Well, on my trip to Jim Thorpe, I got very, very close to Fighter's Heaven, which is where Muhammad Ali trained in the early 1970s. It is in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, near Orwigsburg, Pennsylvania, in the Pottsville area of Schuylkill County. It is not too far away from Jim Thorpe. Anyway, I thought I would just stop by, take a few pictures, take a little video, and record something. But actually, somebody was there representing the museum or the property itself, and he gave me a tiny little bit of a tour and told me how I could talk to him later for more content about Fighter's Heaven and how I could come and take a much, much bigger tour. So I am definitely going to do that in the future, but he was closing up for the day, so I didn't want to keep him so that I could record my little content break here. So I decided to do it in my car because I need to get gas here at Rutter's. But wow, I was not expecting to get to see all of that. I thought I would just see some of the buildings and that would be it, but I am really, really stoked after having that experience. And the gentleman there was such a nice guy. I really, really appreciate it. So, to reiterate, I'm on my way to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. I'm going to see a few things there. And then I'm going to be heading up to Binghamton, New York. Going to see a minor league baseball game tonight. And then tomorrow, it's the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. So excited. Like, comment, subscribe, join me. We are doing more and more different types of videos, and I hope you enjoy it. Those of you who have watched a lot of my Pennsylvania videos know how important the history of labor, especially in the coal mines, is to me, because my great-grandfather was a coal miner in the coal regions of Pennsylvania. He died of black lung, was definitely exploited for his labor, and I think it is important to pay tribute to as many of those people as humanly possible. I would love nothing more than to pay tribute to my great-grandfather by shining a light on all of the men who worked so hard in the coal mines and were used and in many cases lost their lives for the profits of rich men. This Miners Memorial Park here is actually commemorating when the great labor leader Mother Jones led a march in this town that eventually led to a strike trying to get better working conditions for the miners. And when you think about how recently this was, my grandmother's father was involved in this, and that's just crazy to me. So I'm glad they have this tribute, and I definitely think we need to talk more about historical figures like Mother Jones, who fought for workers, and really look at the everyday people who are a part of history, not just the presidents, the senators, the generals, but the everyday people as well. This is the Harry Packard Mansion in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. It served as the outside inspiration for the Haunted Mansion at Walt Disney World in Liberty Square. So the town of Jim Thorpe actually renamed itself. It had a beautiful Native American name, and then they were able to somehow access the remains of the greatest athlete of all time, Jim Thorpe, who competed in football at Carlisle Indian School, about an hour and a half away from the town of Jim Thorpe. It's unsure if Jim Thorpe ever stepped foot in this town, and his family has been trying to get his remains back to Sac and Fox Land in Oklahoma for decades, and I hope someday they do find it. I hope I'm not too much of a traitor by coming here to see this memorial they have to Jim Thorpe here in the town of Jim Thorpe. In 2012, for the 100th anniversary of his 2 Olympic gold medals in the 1912 Olympics, I actually attended an event at the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C., and was able to interview Jim Thorpe's son. And we talked about a lot of different things. That was definitely one of the highlights of my career. When we talk about some of the athletes I've been highlighting in recent videos, Roberto Clemente, great human being, great baseball player. Talk about Jackie Robinson, great human being, great baseball player. Babe Ruth, great human being, great baseball player. We just saw Muhammad Ali's training facility. Great boxer, great human being. And while Jim Thorpe was a great human being, more importantly, he was the best athlete of all of them. He played professional football. He is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He played Major League Baseball, 2-time Olympic gold medal winner. He played professional basketball. He was just above and beyond everyone else. And it is such an inspiration to be here in his presence, even though I do think his remains do need to be returned to Sac and Fox Land. Alright, I am in New York and the roads are bumpy. The game has already started, but that's okay. I don't need to be at every game by first pitch. I am a few miles outside of Binghamton, and I did think it was important to stop in Jim Thorpe because I wanted to see the Jim Thorpe Memorial, but I also wanted to catch the Harry Packard mansion, which has some Walt Disney World history attached to it. The Disneyland version of the Haunted Mansion takes place in New Orleans or Louisiana. It's in New Orleans Square. But the Walt Disney World version of Haunted Mansion takes place in Liberty Square, which is based on upstate New York. That mansion itself, the Harry Packard Mansion, was the inspiration for the outside of Walt Disney World or Magic Kingdom's version of Haunted Mansion, and I wanted to go there and show that to you. I did a video, oh my goodness, I guess it was 3 years ago now about it, but I wanted to go back and see it today. However, Jim Thorpe is definitely a place where I have to go for a full video, and I was discussing this with my wife Courtney last night. Instead of going and doing everything I wanted to do today, I think I'm going to come up with her in a few months. There is a railroad that is historic but also gives rides, and you go up to the top of the mountain and then down the mountain. There is a famous prison which held the Molly Maguires. It was actually where some of the Molly Maguires were executed, and they were Irish immigrant labor organizers and people who fought for labor rights in the United States, specifically the northeastern part of Pennsylvania and the northeastern United States. And some of the Molly Maguires were actually executed at the prison in Jim Thorpe, what is now Jim Thorpe. There is a restaurant, an Irish pub, that I absolutely love there that is named after the Molly Maguires. It's called Molly Maguires. And I want to eat there again. I drove past it today and I just didn't have enough time, but boy, was my mouth watering. And they have some of the greatest pierogies you will ever try in your entire life. And it's just a pretty cool town in general. Like, it has an old school vibe. I really wish that they would return Jim Thorpe's remains to the Sack and Fox. He deserves to be buried in Oklahoma. You can keep the statues, you can keep the name, but his remains really should be returned, and that is something that I hope gets rectified eventually, and hopefully soon. I am just a few miles outside of Binghamton, New York. Going to catch a Binghamton Rumble Ponies game, and then we're going to hit the hotel so that tomorrow I can get up nice and early and head to Cooperstown, New York. So as a lot of you have to know by now, I love minor league baseball. I think it is a great, affordable way to take the family out for entertainment. I was really surprised by the experience of a Binghamton Rumble Ponies game. This stadium had ample parking. It was right in the middle of the city, and there was nobody there. It was completely empty. The season is getting ready to wrap up for the year. I thought people would try to catch a few games before the season ended. The weather was beautiful, but this was definitely a little bit of a disappointment. A very small stadium considering the size of Binghamton, how close they are to the New York Mets, their parent club. You would think that this would be a much more successful operation. And finally, I stayed at a Quality Inn in Binghamton. It was a really nice hotel, had a great breakfast, a free continental breakfast, waffles, yogurt, definitely some hot things to go along with the cold continental breakfast items. But for the price, I don't necessarily think it was worth it. If this was a hotel that was costing me $80 a night, sure, it would have been great. But it cost me almost $120, so I was a little disappointed in that. However, there just aren't a lot of hotels available in Binghamton, so this was the best I could do. I picked up a Little Caesars pizza on the way home and enjoyed my night. I always love to spend the night in a hotel. Tomorrow, that is when we are going to be heading to Cooperstown, New York for the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.